and welcome to this week's episode of Food from Fiction. I thought we would make a blueberry pie from Charlotte's Web because it's my mother's birthday this week, so shout out to my mom, and that's what she liked for her birthday. Charlotte's Web. It's not my favorite. I think it's absolutely depressing with the end, and fairs frighten me. So I'm going to avoid talking about Charlotte's Web and talk about E.B. White instead. So don't mind my segue. Alright, so the aspect of blueberry pie I thought we would tackle is making a lattice pie crust top. So I have everything ready, and I'm just going to cheat and use some parchment paper to roll my pie crust out on because I don't feel like scrubbing the table afterwards. Alright. So I just whipped up some pie crust this morning. I personally think pie crusts are really difficult to make because if you want a really flaky, delicious pie crust, you pretty much can't touch it. The more you work the dough, the tougher it gets because you're building up that gluten structure. So we're gonna roll out the bottom crust, which is just easy peasy, rolling out a tortilla. And I need to stand up. All right. It's also really important when you're making or dealing with pie crusts to give them enough time to rest in between the various different things you're doing to them. In part because you want the butter or vegetable shortening or lard or whatever you're using to have a chance to re-chill if you put them in the refrigerator, but also because again, you want that gluten structure to really relax as much as it can while still being sturdy. So to get it nice and circular, you just roll it out and then give it a nice little quarter turn, and then keep going until you get it the size you want, size and thickness. And since this is for my mother's birthday and for the library, I'm going to try to make it look really pretty. We're also using a new camera this week, so if I'm not even in the shot or things go wonky, that's what's happening. Alright, I have a surprisingly round pie crust, and I'm going to now transfer it into my pie plate. Just move some of my debris. This is always the trickiest part for me. Alright, it didn't rip. Woohoo! We did one half of the pie crust. Alright. Next, I'm going to work on prepping the next half of our pie crust. I'm going to use the same piece of parchment paper. And again, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the last pie crust, and we're going to get it about the same size, rolling it out in the same way, little quarter
quarter turns each time. And I'll show you what to do now. All right, I have another big surface to work with, and now comes the tricky fun part. So, we're going to fill our pie crust with our blueberry filling. It's just blueberries, sugar, flour, and then some lime zest and lime juice. We don't want to overfill it because that will just create a mess, but blueberries do get smaller. Okay. Here we go. Hopefully that's a suitable amount for this pie crust. I mean, this pie shape dish, whatever, words. All right. Move Charlotte's web out of the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a knife and we're going to cut that second big pie crust into strips. So what I wanted to talk about in regards to E.B. White is how, so his first book is Stuart Little, and the woman pretty much single-handedly responsible for starting the children's library sections at the New York Public Library did not approve of Stuart Little, and she made it her mission in life to make sure Stuart Little was banned from public libraries across the country. And since she was such an influential person in setting up and starting the very idea of children's libraries, a lot of librarians listened to her, so they pulled Stuart Little from their shelves. They would hide it under the desk, the circulation desk, so people couldn't actually check it out. All sorts of shady things. All right, on to the next stage. So, this is the tricky part. It's like just a weaving project, pretty much. And you're going to use every other strip from your plate. Just figure out a nice distance for them to be. Get everything set up. And then I think I'm going to do it that way. Alright, and then in order to not be lifting and manipulating so much, we just fold back a couple of the strips. That way we can lay the cross pieces and just naturally make that weaving motion. So that's what I'm going to do, and wish me luck. Okay, here's the first ones. And then you bring those two, that one fell off, back over. And you're trying to be really, really gentle and delicate, not to rip it, not to melt the butter. And then you pick up that one that you just went over top of. Alright. That one doesn't quite fit. So this librarian is the warpath against Stuart Little. She just thinks it's not appropriate for her newly minted children's sections in public libraries. And a lot of people follow through. However, she has a campaign against him for so long that a lot of people are like, okay, you know, enough is enough. And Charlotte's Web, when it comes out, it wins the Newbery. And a lot of people are like, well, no, this book is amazing. And they go back and reread Stuart Little, and ultimately, this totally ruins the reputation of this founder of children's libraries. So, Charlotte's Web rescued, or made E.B. White's name, and rescued Stuart Little from oblivion. So, moral of this story is that even librarians are not without fault sometimes. I know it's painful to say. Alright, that's E.B. White. I have now finished my lattice top, and I am going to cut and trim and crimp the edges so we have something a little prettier. Alright. And then once I'm done with this, I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator and let the dough chill again, because we've just been working it a lot, and obviously New Mexico is quite a warm place, so the butter in the crust is starting to melt. And then also what we were talking about letting crusts set and relax is still applicable here, so we're going to do that before putting it in the oven. And I have one more side, and then I'll show you, prove I actually did this. I'm not the best at pies, so don't laugh too hard if it falls apart. Also, with pie crusts, there's usually a bit of shrinkage in the oven, so it might not turn out as pretty as you wanted it. But that's okay, it should still be delicious. Okay, so hopefully I don't dump this on the floor, and hopefully you can see it with this new camera. I have latticed the top. You can do an egg wash on top and sprinkle some sugar, make it pop a little bit more, or just like this. And that is how to lattice a pie, and that's a little bit about E.B. White and how Charlotte's Web rescued Stuart Little. I hope you enjoy Charlotte's Web. I also hope you enjoy fairs. Not for me. Obviously, it's a very excellent book if it won the Newbery. And if you see my mom, wish her a happy birthday and enjoy a slice of blueberry pie. See you next week.